On April 5, 2025, a 17-year-old girl named London Thomas disappeared, leaving behind only unanswered questions and a broken family. London was last seen at her boyfriend's home in Inkster, Michigan, after being dropped off by her sister. Just 3 weeks later, a discovery was made in a quiet Michigan town that would change everything. London's body was found sealed inside a plastic bin, hidden in an SUV. What led to this tragic ending? And how did someone so close to her end up involved in her death? Her disappearance started as a missing person case, but the chilling truth behind her death soon came to light, revealing a horrific betrayal that no one saw coming. The people closest to London, including her boyfriend and his mother, have been charged with her murder. Stay with us till the end to uncover the chilling truth behind London Thomas's disappearance. You won't believe what happened. Where are you watching from? Let us know in the comments below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you never miss a true crime story like this. London Thomas was a vibrant 17-year-old, full of energy and a love for life. She was described as someone who lit up a room with her presence. Her family, particularly her sisters, shared an unbreakable bond with her. London's mother, Jasmine Bennett, often spoke of her daughter's loving nature and how she had a soft heart despite her bold and outspoken personality. London was passionate about music and had a love for hairstyling, often experimenting with different looks and styles. She had a distinctive butterfly tattoo on her neck, which she wore with pride, symbolizing her free spirit. Those who knew London best described her as someone who was always ready to support those she loved. Her family was everything to her. Her laughter was often heard around the house, and her presence filled the hearts of those close to her with joy. She was not just a daughter, she was a friend, a confidant, and a sister who could always be relied upon. At the time of her death, London had been dating 23-year-old Jalen Pendergrass. Jalen was a significant part of London's life, though their relationship was relatively new. He was older than London by 6 years, and the two had been seeing each other for a short period. However, in the time they spent together, London had grown close to him. Jalen was described by friends as someone who could be charming, but also kept to himself, not revealing much about his past or personal life. Despite the age difference, London seemed happy in the relationship, and her family had no immediate concerns. However, the dynamics of their relationship would soon come under intense scrutiny when the tragic events unfolded. It became clear that what seemed like a normal relationship from the outside was hiding something far more dangerous and troubling behind closed doors. London's family, especially her mother, was devastated by her disappearance. Jasmine Bennett, who had raised London as a single mother, spoke about her daughter in interviews, describing her as not just a child, but as a companion, someone she shared her life with. The loss of London was a blow from which her family struggled to recover. Jasmine had always been protective of London, particularly after the teen began dating Jalen. Despite the age difference, Jasmine didn't see any immediate red flags. London was free-spirited and independent, but she was also deeply attached to her family. Her sisters were extremely close to her, and they all had a strong, supportive relationship. When London disappeared, they felt the weight of the loss not only as a family member, but also as someone who was their emotional anchor. The news of London's tragic fate shook the entire family, who had already been through so much together. The family's fight for justice has been unwavering, as they push for answers and demand accountability for the people responsible for her death. They want to ensure that her memory is not forgotten, and they are determined to honor her by seeking justice for the young girl whose life was taken too soon. April 5, 2025, started like any other day for London Thomas. She had spent time with her family earlier in the day, laughing and enjoying each other's company. That evening, her sister drove her to her boyfriend's home in Inkster, Michigan. It was a seemingly normal interaction. There were no signs that anything was out of the ordinary. Her sister left her at Jalen's house and drove away, unaware that this would be the last time she would see her sister alive. As the evening went on, London's family heard nothing from her. Initially, they thought it was just a quiet night. But as hours passed without a word, they began to worry. London had always kept in touch with her family, so her sudden silence was highly unusual. Attempts to reach her went unanswered. The next morning, April 6, 2025, London's mother, Jasmine Bennett, knew something was terribly wrong. It wasn't like London to be out of contact for this long, and Jasma began to fear the worst. By the morning of April 6, 2025, Jasma had contacted the police. She knew her daughter was missing, and the uncertainty was unbearable. After hours of trying to reach London, Jasma reported her daughter as a missing person. The police quickly got involved, but in the early hours there was little they could do. The case was treated as a missing persons report initially. Jasma, however, knew her daughter, and she wasn't convinced by the initial police response. She pleaded with the authorities to take the case seriously, fearing something had gone terribly wrong. The police began their preliminary investigation by interviewing friends and family, but there were no clear leads. The focus was on tracing London's last known movements, and efforts to reach Jalen Pendergrass, who was last with London, became a priority. The first 48 hours were crucial, but with no solid evidence or suspects, the case grew colder. It was becoming increasingly difficult to make progress, and the uncertainty left London's family in a constant state of worry and fear. Still, they held on to hope that she would be found safe, not yet aware of the tragedy that awaited them. The first days of the investigation were marked by a standard missing persons inquiry. The police spoke with Jalen, London's friends, and her family members, trying to piece together any details that might explain her sudden disappearance. They confirmed that London had been dropped off at Jalen's house, but after that, no one had heard from her. Jalen at the time seemed cooperative, offering little insight into her whereabouts. His statements didn't raise immediate suspicion, but there was a sense of unease growing in the background. Investigators began to search for any evidence that could point to London's location. They canvassed the area around Jalen's home and reviewed nearby surveillance footage, but nothing substantial came up. Days turned into weeks, and as the investigation hit dead ends, the case grew cold. There was no sign of London, no clues about what had happened to her, and no obvious leads. The community, including London's family, was left in the dark, feeling helpless as the police continued to search with little progress. However, just when it seemed like the case would go unsolved, a breakthrough came. A tip from an anonymous source provided crucial information, pointing authorities toward a location in Southfield, Michigan. This tip would ultimately lead to the discovery of London's body. But before that, the police were left trying to make sense of the unsettling silence surrounding her disappearance, the mounting pressure on investigators, and the constant pain felt by London's family. After weeks of fruitless investigation, a break in the case came unexpectedly. On April 26, 2025, an anonymous tip came into the police that would ultimately change the course of the investigation. The tipster provided specific details about the location where London's body could be found: inside a sealed plastic bin in an SUV in Southfield, Michigan. This information was critical, and the authorities quickly responded. The tip led the police to a seemingly ordinary vehicle, parked in a quiet area. As they approached the SUV, they discovered the chilling truth: a sealed plastic bin inside the vehicle, and inside that bin was London's lifeless body. The discovery was not only heartbreaking for her family, but also confirmed their worst fears. London had not simply disappeared, she had been murdered. The discovery of London's body in the plastic bin marked a turning point in the investigation. Investigators immediately began processing the scene. The SUV, registered to someone close to London, was searched, and evidence was collected. The authorities were quick to secure the vehicle and the surrounding area, hoping to find any details that could shed light on how London ended up in such a tragic situation. The scene was thoroughly examined, but there were no obvious signs of violence at first glance. It wasn't until the autopsy would later reveal the true nature of the crime that the full horror of the situation became clear. The discovery itself was a devastating moment for those involved, as it brought the case from a missing persons investigation into the realm of homicide. The police turned their attention to the individuals closest to London: her boyfriend, Jalen Pendergrass, and his mother, Charla Pendergrass. The case was beginning to take shape, and it became evident that those with the most access to her were now the prime suspects. The investigation moved forward, with mounting suspicion falling on both Jalen and Charla. The autopsy conducted on London's body revealed the horrifying truth: London had died from asphyxia, and her death was ruled a homicide. The cause of death was blunt force trauma to her neck, consistent with strangulation. The medical examiner's findings confirmed what the authorities had feared: London had been murdered, and the case was no longer about a missing teen, but a brutal crime that required justice. The discovery of asphyxia as the cause of death raised serious concerns about the circumstances leading to London's final moments. It suggested a deliberate act of violence, carried out by someone who had been in close proximity to her. The lack of defensive wounds indicated that she may have been caught off guard, adding an unsettling layer to the investigation. With this crucial information, the investigation shifted into high gear. The focus now turned toward those who were the last to have seen London, and the police began to piece together the timeline leading to her death. As the investigation unfolded, growing concern centered on Jalen Pendergrass and his mother, Charla Pendergrass. London had been last seen at Jalen's home, and now that her body had been found, the authorities turned their attention to him and his family. Jalen, who had initially cooperated with police, was becoming more of a suspect with each passing day. His relationship with London, though not long, was scrutinized, and investigators began questioning his motives and actions leading up to her death. Charla Pendergrass, Jalen's mother, also came under suspicion. Allegedly, she had been involved in helping cover up the crime, moving the body and attempting to mislead the police. Her role in the aftermath of London's disappearance raised alarms. As the investigation deepened, it became clear that both Jalen and Charla were not just bystanders, but were potentially involved in a crime that shocked everyone who knew London. The growing suspicion around Jalen and Charla, along with the disturbing details of London's death, created a tense atmosphere. Investigators, now armed with the medical examiner's findings, were determined to uncover the truth and bring those responsible to justice. London's family, meanwhile, was left to process the devastating reality that their daughter had been taken from them in such a violent way. Their fight for justice was only beginning. As the investigation progressed and evidence mounted, Jalen Pendergrass became the primary suspect in the murder of London Thomas. Although he had initially cooperated with authorities, inconsistencies in his statements and the growing evidence against him soon led the police to focus their efforts on him. His involvement with London, along with the discovery of her body, painted a disturbing picture. On October 5, 2025, Jalen Pendergrass was arrested and charged with second-degree murder. The arrest followed a thorough investigation that revealed his possible role in London's death. The police had learned about his interactions with London on the day of her disappearance, but it was the discovery of her body in the sealed plastic bin that raised serious questions about his involvement. Authorities believed that Jalen had been directly responsible for London's death, but the exact details of how he was involved were still being pieced together. Jalen's arrest was a shock to many, as he had appeared cooperative during the investigation. However, his actions after London's death and the discovery of the body painted a very different picture. His arrest was the first major breakthrough in the case, signaling that authorities were now closing in on those responsible for London's tragic fate. Jalen Pendergrass wasn't the only one under investigation. As the case developed, it became increasingly clear that his mother, Charla Pendergrass, had played a crucial role in the events following London's death. Charla, a 49-year-old woman, was implicated in helping cover up the crime and assisting her son in hiding the evidence. According to authorities, Charla was not only aware of the murder, but allegedly helped move London's body. She was accused of being complicit in the effort to mislead investigators and hide the truth. Charla's involvement shocked many, as she was expected to have been a supportive figure for her son during such a difficult time. Instead, her actions raised serious questions about her role in the crime. Charla was accused of aiding Jalen in attempting to conceal the evidence by helping him transport the body in the plastic bin. As the investigation revealed more about her involvement, it became clear that Charla had been an active participant in the cover-up. Her actions further complicated the case and highlighted the deep connections between the suspects. Both Jalen and Charla Pendergrass were charged with tampering with evidence, a crucial element that brought the case into sharper focus. The charge stemmed from their efforts to destroy or conceal evidence that could have helped the authorities solve the case earlier. After London's death, investigators discovered that both Jalen and Charla had taken steps to hide critical pieces of evidence. It was revealed that the sealed plastic bin, which contained London's body, had been moved from one location to another in an attempt to avoid detection. In addition to moving the body, both were accused of providing misleading information to law enforcement, delaying the investigation. The charges of tampering with evidence were significant because they not only pointed to the attempt to hide the truth, but also complicated the legal proceedings. These actions showed a deliberate effort to obstruct justice, making it clear that both Jalen and Charla were trying to protect themselves by any means necessary. As the case continued, The tampering charges became an essential part of the evidence against them, strengthening the prosecution's case. The legal proceedings surrounding the murder of London Thomas began to unfold in October 2025. On October 17th, both Jalen and Charla Pendergrass were formally arraigned in court, marking a significant moment in the case. Jalen, charged with second-degree murder and tampering with evidence, was denied bond. His arrest had already shocked many, and the severity of the charges only intensified public scrutiny. The court's decision to deny bond reflected the gravity of the situation, with the prosecution arguing that Jalen was a flight risk and a danger to the community. Charla Pendergrass, Jalen's mother, faced similar charges. She was arraigned alongside her son, but unlike Jalen, Charla's bond was set at an astounding $5 million. The high bond was a direct response to the serious nature of the charges, as well as her role in allegedly helping to cover up the crime and tampering with evidence. Charla's arrest added another layer of complexity to the case, as it became evident that both mother and son were deeply involved in the tragic events surrounding London's death. The arraignments marked the beginning of a long legal battle, with both Jalen and Charla facing serious consequences if convicted. Their court appearances set the stage for the legal proceedings that would follow, with many awaiting the next steps in the case. As the legal proceedings began, the community's response was swift and powerful. London Thomas had been a beloved figure in Inkster, Michigan, and her tragic death left a deep impact on everyone who knew her. Her family, especially her mother Jasma, became vocal advocates for justice. They worked tirelessly to ensure that London's death was not swept under the rug and that those responsible were held accountable. London's family became a symbol of strength, standing together to demand justice for their daughter. The public's reaction to the charges against Jalen and Charla was mixed. Many expressed outrage at the idea that a mother could be involved in the death of a young girl, and the community rallied behind London's family. Local protests were held, and petitions calling for justice spread across social media, as people from all walks of life voiced their support for London's family. The case sparked conversations about domestic violence, trust, and the role of family members in protecting or betraying one another. London's story resonated with people not only in Michigan, but across the country, with many using the case to raise awareness about the dangers of toxic relationships and the importance of holding perpetrators accountable. The community's involvement in the case was crucial, as it brought attention to the injustices that had been inflicted on London and her family. As of October 2025, the case was still in its early stages. Both Jalen and Charla Pendergrass had been arraigned, but much of the legal process remained ahead. A probable cause conference was scheduled for October 22, 2025, which would allow the prosecution and defense to present further evidence and discuss the next steps in the case. This conference was expected to shed more light on the specific charges and the legal strategy each side would take moving forward. For London's family, the conference represented another crucial moment in their pursuit of justice, but their resolve remained strong. They continued to advocate for their daughter and to demand accountability for the people who had caused her death. The upcoming conference was expected to clarify the direction of the trial and potentially lead to more formal charges or additional evidence being presented in court. Both the prosecution and defense were preparing for a long legal process, as the case had attracted significant attention due to the serious nature of the charges and the involvement of a mother and son in the crime. London's family, along with the community, remained hopeful that justice would prevail and that those responsible would face the full consequences of their actions. The case was far from over, and with each step forward, there was a renewed commitment to ensuring that London's voice was heard. As the investigation into London Thomas's murder continued, many unanswered questions remained. What could have led to such a brutal crime? Was it truly a case of domestic violence, or, while the details surrounding her death pointed to a tragic altercation, there were lingering questions about the true motive? One possibility is that London had been caught in a toxic and dangerous relationship. Jalen Pendergrass, her 23-year-old boyfriend, had a history that was not fully understood by those around him. Was his anger toward London the result of a single, heated argument, or had there been underlying issues that had built up over time? Did London's family ever know the full extent of their relationship, or were there signs that were ignored? The role of Charla Pendergrass, Jalen's mother, only deepened the mystery. Was she simply a mother trying to protect her son, or did she have a more troubling involvement in the crime? Her actions in helping cover up the murder suggested a deeper connection to the crime than anyone could have imagined. Could it be that she was helping her son for reasons far more personal, perhaps driven by something hidden in their past? As investigators began to explore every angle, the motives behind the murder became even murkier. Was it about control, jealousy, or something far more calculated? These unanswered questions only served to heighten the sense of mystery surrounding the case. To understand the full scope of the crime, investigators turned their focus to the relationship between Jalen and Charla Pendergrass. The bond between a mother and son is often seen as sacred, but the Pendergrass family dynamic was anything but typical. Jalen and Charla's relationship was complicated, with both sharing a history that was not immediately visible to outsiders. Charla had raised Jalen, and as a mother, she was protective of him, but what kind of protection was she offering? Investigators began to dig into their past, searching for any signs that might explain their actions. Did Charla encourage her son to engage in dangerous behavior? Was there a history of violence or abuse in their household that could have influenced Jalen's actions? Jalen's relationship with his mother also painted a picture of dependency and control. It appeared that Charla may have had an undue influence over him, as both were involved in the attempt to hide London's body. Was Jalen simply following his mother's lead, or was there a shared motive that led to this tragic outcome? As the investigation revealed more about their relationship, it became clear that the dynamics between Jalen and Charla were key to understanding the true nature of the crime. As the investigation unfolded, the full extent of the crime began to emerge, and the truth became more horrifying. The discovery of London's body was just the beginning. The police, after weeks of questioning and gathering evidence, uncovered new details that would change everything. Jalen's and Charla's involvement was undeniable, but the extent of their actions became more disturbing as authorities uncovered additional evidence. Witnesses and tips provided crucial information that pointed to their direct participation in the crime, leading to the final shocking revelation. Both Jalen and Charla had not only been involved in the murder, but had worked together to cover it up. The chilling moment came when it was revealed that the pair had gone to great lengths to hide the truth, including misleading law enforcement and moving London's body to different locations to evade detection. Their attempts to manipulate the investigation had been far more calculated than anyone had initially suspected. As the full scope of the crime was revealed, it became clear that what had started as a tragic missing persons case was much more complex and horrifying than anyone had imagined. In the end, the true horror lay not just in the act itself, but in the cold, calculated manner in which both Jalen and Charla had conspired to keep the truth hidden. This shocking discovery left the community stunned and reinforced the determination of London's family to seek justice for their lost loved one. The fight for justice for London Thomas is far from over. As the legal proceedings unfold, her family and the community continue to stand firm, demanding accountability for the individuals responsible for her death. The loss of London has left a deep wound, and her family is determined to see that those who took her life are held fully responsible for their actions. For true justice to be served, the court must ensure that both Jalen and Charla Pendergrass face the consequences of their crimes. London's family, supported by the public, will not rest until the truth is fully revealed and justice is achieved. Her story, though tragic, has ignited a call for accountability and for those who commit such heinous acts to face the consequences. What do you think the motive was behind London's tragic death? Comment below and let us know your thoughts. If you're following the case, don't forget to subscribe for updates on this story. If you found this story compelling, don't forget to like this video. Your support helps us continue bringing important stories to light. We want to hear from you. Share your thoughts in the comments below. What are your views on the case? Share this video with your network to raise awareness and help keep the conversation going. Your engagement makes a difference, and we appreciate you being part of this journey.